Hey, what's up, everybody? David, the Pro Solo Flipper here. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about sourcing. I'm going to kind of talk about, I'm going to talk about auctions, sourcing from auctions. So I know a lot of people, me included, like to source from thrift stores and garage sales. That's probably my favorite way to source. Um, but that's not always available. And even if it is available, that may not be the best way to source, or um, it may not provide enough inventory for you to source to grow your business to the level that you want. So, one of the ways I've been pretty successful building my inventory and my store level up to a higher level is through auctions. So, and the type of auctions I'm referring to are local auctions. So I think that most areas probably have a local auction house. Maybe not right in your town. Hopefully, you do have one in your town. Um, but I would think within a pretty short distance, depending on where you live, I suppose. I live in Idaho. I live in East Idaho, which is not the more crowded Boise area, which is not really crowded either, I guess. I grew up in California, so for me, Idaho is not really crowded anywhere. But I live in a town that has about 60,000 people in the area. And then you'd have to drive another 45 minutes to get to another town of comparable size. So, not a huge area. So, but we are fortunate here to have an auction house. And like I said, if you drove 45 minutes, you could get to a town that has another one. So, I don't think that you probably should have to look very far to find one. Um, but I'm just going to talk about the auction house we have here, and I'm going to assume that there are probably all over the country, and you should be able to find one locally to you, unless you live somewhere really remote, which could be the case, I guess. Uh, so the way this auction house works is they where they get their items from are from businesses. They could be just getting rid of a bulk amount of items from the business that they no longer use, or it could be a business that's going out of business or retiring. That's these are some of my favorite places to get inventory from. Whether you get their old inventory or you get their equipment or whatever, there's a huge ROI that you can get from that kind of stuff. These auction houses also get stuff from bankruptcies. So they may get that might tend to be bigger stuff like, cars, trucks, boats, recreational vehicles, motorcycles, you know, things of that nature. And then they also get stuff just from consignment. So that's just for people who are trying to get rid of their personal stuff. I've actually used them a couple of times myself to unload, lots of stuff that I've gotten accumulated that wasn't really right to sell online or whatever. Um, so basically, this is the way they work. Every couple of weeks, they'll have an auction. I think that I'm just going to say this, like I'm going to talk about my auction house, but I think that this will apply to almost everywhere. What the trend is. So these auction houses used to just do live auctions. So you would, and they didn't used to do anything online. They would just say, "There's going to be an auction." You might have a piece of paper with a list of the what's going to be for sale, and that's it. And then you would show up to maybe a preview day the day before, see what they have, and then decide what you're going to bid on the next day. Then you show up the next day, you get your bidding number in the morning, and you sit and you watch the auction go, and you bid on your items that you are interested in. And if you win them, you great. If you don't, you don't. But that's not really the way it works anymore. Now they are moving so much more to online. So this auction house does online and live auctions, and even for the live auctions, you can still bid online. So what they do is in the 2 weeks or so previous to the auction date, they will start putting those items online, kind of similar to eBay, I guess, or anywhere else you might sell something. They'll take pictures. Sometimes those pictures are good, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes there's plenty of pictures, and sometimes there's not enough. Sometimes you can see everything in the lot, and sometimes you can't. Um, but that kind of makes it interesting and provides some opportunity in itself. So what I do is, and let's just say these auctions in my area might have 600 lots, or they might have up to almost 2,000 lots. for one auction. And so here's what I do. And I'll just say this, generally speaking, in reselling, you're going to create opportunity for yourself by doing, possibly, by doing what other people aren't willing to do. So I don't know how many people that live in my area or in my town are willing to sit down and go through every single lot that's coming up at every single auction to see what's in it, and then to do even further research on every single lot that they think would be a good lot to purchase, by looking up comps on eBay or whatever. There's probably not a lot of people who are willing to do that in my town, and that creates an opportunity for me, right? So this is what I do for these auctions. I will say that I'll just go ahead and say that it probably takes 4 to 6 hours or something or so to go through these, to do the research for an auction, which may seem like a lot, especially if you sit down and do it at one time. But if you compare it to, say, let's just say, going to thrift stores for 4 to 6 hours. So generally, when I go thrift shopping, I spend about 2 hours a day, and I hit 3 thrift stores in my town, and I might do that maybe 3 times a week, maybe 4, maybe only 2, depending on right now with all the quarantine stuff going on. Haven't been hitting them at all, right? So, but let's just say this would be the equivalent of going thrift shopping for 3 days, for 2 hours each at 3 thrift stores. That's how much time I would spend doing the research on what I want to bid on for these auctions. So it may seem like a lot, but I'll tell you right now, if you do 6 hours worth of research on one of these auctions that has, on average, 1,500 lots, you will end up with, you will likely end up, I mean, however aggressive you want to be, I guess, in bidding and buying stuff. I personally will end up with more items to resell than I would for 3 days of sourcing at the thrift store, on average. So here's what I do. Let's say there's 1,500 lots. I will go through, pull up a page at a time where it'll have like 50 pictures on a page. So maybe 5 across and then down 10 rows or whatever. So I will just kind of scroll down. I won't click on it and look into it. I'll just look at the one picture they have and the short description they have, and I will watch every single one that looks like it could have potential for something that I might want to buy, mostly to sell online, but also sometimes there are items that I would flip locally. So I will take the time to go through all that. That doesn't take as much time. That would probably take me, if I sat there for 1,500 to go through 1,500 lots, that might take maybe 45 minutes or so to go through and just watch each one I want. So when I get through all 1,500, then I have a list, and let's say that list, out of that, I'll end up watching maybe 150. That's kind of normal for me. There'll be 100. Then I can go to my watch list, and it will bring up a list of all the ones I'm watching, 150, and from there I can start going one by one, clicking in on each one and doing my research to see what's in there. Maybe looking up comps, probably looking up comps on some stuff, to see what stuff will sell for. And then there's a little section where you could have notes, and you can put in there, what I will typically put is let's just say it's a lot of books. And so there's maybe 3 boxes of books. Each box has 15 to 20 books in it. I go in there and I look at what I can see. You can zoom in on the pictures. Hopefully they took good pictures. Hopefully you can see most of the books. And I will look up comps for a few of the books that really look like they could bring some good money. And then I will set a maximum bid that I'm willing to bid based on only what I can see. I'm not a gambler. If I was more of a gambler, I would go do storage auctions. I think that people who like to gamble tend to go to the storage auctions. I've done them before too, and I've always just bid on what I can see. But there's a lot of people that go there who bid hoping there's going to be stuff in there, and I think that they sometimes win, and probably more often than not, they probably pay a little bit too much for those lockers. But anyway, back on track. I will set my maximum bid in the notes. I won't actually bid. I will just write in the notes. What I write in the notes is I see this much in comps. So let's say I found 5 books, and I think the total of those 5 books, I think I could sell for $150. So I will put comps 150, and then based on the fact that I think I can get 150 of them, I'm going to be willing to bid $40, just for an example. So I'll put max 40, and then that's it. I'm done with that lot. I won't look at it again probably until later. So then I'll just go to the next one. I will go down all the way down the line for 150 of those. I would delete the ones that don't look like they'd be that good, or maybe that are already bid up higher than I'd be willing to bid. I'll just delete those. And so let's just say after going through all those, if I sat there and did it straight, this is going to be a tedious process. So I would say that it would probably take me 4 hours to go through 150 thing and look up comps on all those things. So, and that's just an estimate. I don't know. Maybe it would take 3. Maybe it would take 5. Maybe it would only take 2. It just depends on what it is and how much stuff you actually have to look up comps for, how much stuff you're already familiar with, what they would go for. So I'll do that for all 150, and let's just say after doing all that, I'm down to 100 because I eliminated 50 that just weren't something I was interested really in, or they were already bid up too high, or whatever. So I'm down to 100, and let's just say it's still. I will typically do this about a week before the auction, and then I will probably have to go back in there and look to see if they've added any new ones, because they do add new lots up until a couple of days before the auction, which is a little bit annoying. I wish that they would have a cutoff date, but this is how this auction company runs. So sometimes they're adding stuff up until the day before. So I don't have to go back in and try to look that stuff up too to see if it's more stuff I want to bid on or not. But I often do, because I feel like once again there's more opportunity. Maybe other people aren't willing to go back in, look for whatever they've listed new, and take the time to look up comps on that stuff too. So I do it because I feel like it's an opportunity for me to find more stuff and do better where other people aren't willing to do that. So, and then I will go back in every couple days to see if things have got bid up over my max. If they have, then I'll just delete that off my watch list. So let's just say by the time the actual morning of the auction comes, I would be surprised. It's probably cut in half again. So I'm probably around 50, maybe 40, more, maybe 60 lots that I'm still looking at that haven't got bid up too high yet. And then as the day goes along, the bidding will start. So here where I live, the live auctions start earlier in the morning because they take more time, I guess, because doing a live auction just is a slower process than an online auction. So they start at like 9 in the morning, and the online ones will start usually around lunchtime. So I prefer the online ones because you know when the auction is going to end, and so you can kind of be ready. Prepare yourself to be there at the auction, and better than you can at the live auction, because the live auction, all you know is an order. You don't know how long it's going to take to get to a certain lot or anything, so you have to kind of monitor it during the day. And you do with the online too, but it's just more predictable. So I don't bid on anything until like the last 5 minutes. Again, it's what you're willing to do to create the best opportunity for you to get the best price. And I feel like if you bid an hour before the lot's even going to end, then somebody else is going to have the time to say, oh, I got outbid. Maybe I need to take another look at it. Maybe I need to look up comps a little bit better. And then the likelihood of them bidding again is a lot higher if they have an hour to think about it than if they only have a few minutes. So I tend to bid maybe around the 4-minute mark. And the reason I do the 4-minute mark is because these auctions use what they call a soft close. And what a soft close means is that you can't just go in there and snipe a bid at the last 30 seconds and just not have people have not enough time to bid again. That's not the way it works. So when you have a soft close, if you bid in the last 3 minutes, that auction time for that lot gets extended another 3 minutes. So the lot could potentially go quite a bit longer if people keep bidding in the last 3 minutes. So I usually bid right around the 4-minute mark so that it doesn't extend the time, and then maybe there's only 3 minutes left for somebody to bid again. And if they do, then like I said, it'll get extended another 3 minutes. So if they bid it at the 1.5-minute mark, then all of a sudden it'll be 3 minutes left in the auction again. And if it goes back down to the 1-minute mark and somebody bids again, then there'll be 3 minutes left again. So that's how a soft close works. Anyway, so I bid in the last few minutes. I feel like that's the best way to win stuff. And so let's just say, as the auction starts, people start bidding, even if it's an hour or two left before, and so your 50 is now down to 30 by the time it really starts getting down to bidding on the stuff. So I might have 30 things I'm looking at, and then I'll actively start bidding on those. Some of them I'll win, some of them I won't. And I would say I probably would end up winning about 20 out of those 30 that I got down. So a lot of work, right? Going from 1,500 listings to winning 20 lots. But it's 20 lots, it's not 20 items. Most lots at these auctions have more than one item in them. Sometimes it might have like 3 boxes of books, and so maybe 60 books. Sometimes it might have like a lot of electronics or something like that. So you might have 6 different items that you can sell online, and then maybe 3 or more items that you would be willing to sell locally or something like that. I forgot to mention also that these, or maybe I didn't, I don't know, but these auctions also do estate sales. So they'll get estate sales and they'll pretty much have the contents of a whole house. Those are some of my favorite ones to do because, for one, they're at different locations. So sometimes, again, I'm willing to travel to those locations, or I have the time because I'm full time, and other people might have jobs, so I can get to those locations to pick up stuff easier than other people. Two, typically things are in better condition because they're just people's personal items that they were actively using. Whereas if you're getting stuff from consignments, you don't know if somebody's bringing that stuff there just because it doesn't work anymore or what. So, and keep that in mind when you're bidding too. You're not going to know if this stuff works. In my experience, most stuff works, with the exception of there is a company, some kind of a local company that brings new open box merchandise to this auction on a regular basis. In fact, they actually have auctions just for this company, and I don't participate in them anymore. I did once, and I bought, I would say, maybe 30 items, or 30, maybe even 30 lots, I don't know, of stuff that looked like it had been, it was new open box, like it had been returned wherever they were getting it from. They're buying pallets of returned merchandise or something. And then I'm guessing that maybe they're sorting, I don't know what they're doing, sorting and selling some of it online, and then the rest is going to these auctions. So I didn't know that at the time because it was one of the first times they started doing it. And what happened was a lot of that stuff didn't work. And so I ended up losing a little bit of money on those deals. Luckily, I didn't spend too much on that. I did make some money on some of those things because they were working, but so I would say that auction probably ended up being a little bit of a break even. Sorry, my dog's going crazy outside. I don't know what he's doing. Um, so what I'm saying is you end up with maybe winning 20 lots, and in 20 lots, let's just say on average those things probably have 8 or 10 items in them each. So let's say 8, and so you end up with 160 items. So you've done about 6 hours worth of work, and you've got 160 items. I don't know how well you do when you go sourcing at thrift stores, but if you went 3 times for 2 hours each, would you get 160 items? I don't know. I don't think I typically do. That would be what, over 50 items each day. That's pretty high. I don't really do that much when I go sourcing at thrift stores. Some days I might, but typically when I hit a thrift store, I might walk out with, I would say, 10 to 15 items. Maybe not even that. Maybe on average 10 items. Some depending on what thrift store it is. Some less than that, but on average probably 10 items. So that's 30 a day. So I'd probably only get 90 items in those 6 hours. So this is a way to really get a lot of inventory in a short period of time. And sometimes they do these auctions every week or every 2 weeks. It's just a matter of how much demand they have for their services. So they will do them every week if they get enough stuff in. And so there's a lot of opportunity to get a lot of inventory. And it's the reason why my garage is full, and the reason why I had a storage unit for a long time was because you can get so much merchandise at one time. I've gotten as much as one time there was an electrical contracting company that went out of business. I think that the lady's husband had passed away, and so they had a huge shop on their property, and it was just full of equipment and inventory for that shop. And I spent I think I spent about $1,300 or $1,500 on that, and I bought so much stuff that I had to rent a U-Haul truck, and I think it was like a 20-foot U-Haul truck, and I had to take 2 trips to go get it all. It was a lot of stuff, and it was so much stuff that I didn't have anywhere to put it, so I had to go rent a storage unit, 10 by 30 storage unit to put it all in, and and I did great on that. But if you think about how many items I got on that, it was hundreds of items, probably 1,000. It might even be. It probably was 1,000 items. I don't know. And I spent the next year listing that stuff on eBay. I made probably $5,000 or $6,000 in profit off that one auction, and then I still had a ton of stuff left off, and I ended up having the same auction company auction off the contents of my storage unit. And once I had done picking it, I was done picking everything out, minus all the storage, all the shelves, because I think there was probably about 20 shelves in there. So I said auction off the contents, not to include shelves, and then I brought the shelves back to my basement here, and I sold a couple of the shelves, I think. So anyway, this video is getting kind of long, but I kind of wanted to talk about auctions. I think a lot of people overlook auctions. They get kind of hung up on going to thrift stores because it's fun, right? And it's an opportunity also for you to get, if you're somebody who just mostly does clothing or something, because that's what's easy to find at thrift stores, really. It's an opportunity to get some other types of stuff and dabble in other types of things. Like I really like doing industrial type stuff that comes from businesses because that stuff sells well. I mean, as long as you're pricing it where it's a good deal for the business, like you're saving them money, they'll have no problem like buying everything that you have. Like, so sometimes I will have multiple quantities of something because it is that type of a thing, and it might take a while to sell until somebody realizes it's there on eBay, and then they'll just buy all 8 of them or something because the price is cheaper than they get it, and they know they're going to need it anyway. So maybe get on Google and check it out. Check out auctions in your area. Just go take a look at it and see what you think. You don't have to bid anything the first time. You can maybe just watch a few things, see what they end up going for, and see if you would have made a profit if you're a little nervous to start. But like I said, do what other people might not be willing to do. So don't just kind of look at it like, if you're going to look at a lot, look at every little picture and see if you can see something that maybe somebody else would miss. That happens often with me. I might see one little thing and I could zoom in and see the brand on it, and then do my research and realize that thing is worth $65. I'm thinking of one thing in my mind that I just sold the other day, and it sold fast, and I got $65 for it, and I only paid $7.50 for that whole lot because I had seen that thing in there. So just pick a few things, do really good research, and watch it, or even just bid on maybe 1 or 2 lots and just see what happens. But like I said, compared to thrift stores or garage sales, which are a lot of fun, you can get a lot of stuff at one time. I've many times have filled up my whole truck coming back from auctions, and I could do that every couple of weeks. And if you can fill up your whole truck with items every couple of weeks, I mean, you're not gonna have a problem finding inventory. So, and also the things that I do find at the auction tend to be a much higher ROI than you would get at least at thrift stores. I know garage sales, I do really well with the garage sales sometimes too, but auctions can be really great. So anyway, that's all. I just want to kind of give you some information about how I do auctions, and maybe provide an opportunity for you to look into something in your area. And like I said, I have one in my town, but if I didn't, it would be worth it to me to drive an hour out of town. And sometimes I do, because sometimes this auction has estate sales that are out of town. I went to one recently that was a half hour out of town, and went and filled up my truck and came back. It was worth it to me. So anyway, take a look, see what you can find. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below. Subscribe if you want to see more content from me. That would be really helpful. Check me out on Instagram, the same account, Pro Solo Flipper. Hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully you found this useful, and appreciate you guys watching. Thanks. Bye.